We are on the M1 or just on the edge of it, and Pentavia Retail Park, as was, now gone. I'm going to show you something I think is quite fascinating. Here's got a road footbridge over the M1 and take you down into Colindale, Graham Park and all that. This is what I want to show you. So this is the London Midland line, which would have been here since what, the 1870s, 1880s, maybe a bit earlier. This access under this bridge underneath the railway would have been put in at a time before any of this other stuff was here. So in fact it was put in, I believe, for farmers, because either side of this railway would have been agricultural land up until, I suppose, the 1920s and 30s, when suburbanisation arrived. But this would have allowed farmers to be able to bring equipment themselves, but most notably things like cows, because this would have been, beyond the bridge, would have been dairy land, would have been rough pasture. This links in with a story that I've told a number of times at talks. I did one at Pinner recently, Pinner Village Hall, for the Pinner Local History Society. Because right in front of me, where these buildings are, this would have been the outside of Hendon Aerodrome. The aerodrome is now nothing but a distant memory, and the only visible signs of the fact there was one is the RAF Museum, which obviously charts the history of it. As you can see, there is a little bridge, the footpath to Mill Hill, as it says. So yes, this was put in for only one reason: to allow farmers to move animals through it, past, backwards and forwards. And in fact, one of the landowners in this area that would have had dairy cattle, because that's where they were, was George Barham of Express Dairies. He owned land here. And so on the old maps that show the area where the aerodrome was, they have got the names of the landowners. That's a train just going past. And one of those names on the map that I saw was Barham, B-A-R-H-A-M. So this is an area that has seen an enormous amount of change within the space of really just 100 years. The aerodrome would have been here from around about 1910. Its first origins were around about 1908, 1909, but it was just merely flying grounds at that point. It became a proper aerodrome when Claude Graham White, the aviation pioneer, took control of it around about 1910-11 and turned it into a proper aerodrome. So this road didn't exist. This would have just been the airfield, and there would have been obviously fences, etc. But where these buildings are now, I think the first two buildings here, there would have been actually hangars. So big steel buildings that I think were actually used by the Americans during the Second World War for communications work and stuff, for flights, etc., storage of aircraft that they used. Don't quote me on that. So this is Graham Park Way, itself named after Claude Graham White. You just notice a squirrel. I would try and zoom in on the squirrel. You don't want to watch that, do you? But other noticeable things that will tell you that this was something to do with aviation is some of these blocks are named after some of the activities, the names of aircraft, etc. And I do believe that one over there is called Claude House in the distance. So just a small video there. There's not a lot to be gained from me wandering around and pointing things out, because, as I said, there wasn't a great deal. So this road itself wasn't here really until around about 1970, thereabouts. The Graham Park estate being built from 1968-69 onwards, and the airfield basically ceased to exist in any way at all, and then rips up the old asphalt runways. And when it first opened, the airfield, the aerodrome, was merely just grass anyway. So as we go down there, that's where the RAF Museum is in the distance. Right, well, that's it. I feel the need to waffle on as I would do if I was just walking along with someone and boring them senseless. But there isn't an awful lot for me to say, and I haven't got any kind of scripts as usual. This was just ad hoc. I've been filming something on the other side of the railway, so I thought I'd just squeeze this one in, because I always find that railway bridge back there fascinating, the history of it. And if you were to look at old Ordnance Survey maps from the late 1800s, early 1900s, you will find those bridges. They will be marked on there. So the best place to have a look at Ordnance Survey maps is something called NLS, National Libraries of Scotland, and they digitised a whole load of maps, Ordnance Survey maps, aerial photographs, all sorts of things. Fantastic, fantastic resource. Right, thank you for watching.